So can you share a little bit about yourself?
Okay. This is always like a weird question. Just to keep it pretty simple, I'm 23. Originally resided in Georgia. I'm from a small town called Columbus, Georgia. I lived there until I was about 18. Then I moved to Atlanta. I've been here ever since. Um, I'm a
Right.
mother, so I have a daughter. She's 3, and that's pretty much my life, I would say. Just being a mother, trying to like use my gifts properly, walk in my purpose. I'm just, I don't know, I'm just a spiritual being having a human experience.
Okay,
Like
okay.
the
So let me
cliche
let me
stuff.
give this more context then. All right. So you have a very nice YouTube channel called The Spiritual Baddie, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I want to understand, was spirituality there from the beginning in your life? Were parents like that, or was that something you had unique experiences and it became real for you? Or how did the word spiritual even come to your mind? Like how did it become like, do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It just happened. Like I spoke on this on my channel before. Like I didn't have a spiritual awakening truly until I got pregnant with my daughter. And the start of my spiritual awakening, which actually a lot of like divine feminines go through that when they get pregnant. The start of my spiritual awakening was just old traumatic memories from childhood coming up. That was like the start of it. But I mean, I grew up in the church, I grew up religious, but I did not come from a necessarily a religious family. It's just something I got into because of the people I was around. And my
Mhm.
grandma, she was a pastor, but it wasn't spiritual. Like spirituality to me is something completely different now. It's taken on a new form. So the spiritual part just came from all the experiences and the initiations I've gone through in the past like 3 or 4 years. Just brought me to like a spiritual place.
Right, right. I remember I saw one of your new videos and the way you were speaking, it was very, very interesting to me. It felt like, well, sometimes when you speak, it's like there's a authority behind it. I don't know how you experience that, right? But when I was listening to one of your videos, it felt like when you're speaking, there's a conviction there. There's something you know.
Mm.
It's coming from something you know, right? So that would be very interesting if you could like open that up for me or kind of, or is it just a feeling?
I think it's both. I think I mean, it's definitely a feeling for sure that it's like I don't know, it's like just a part of myself I tap into. Like sometimes I even like to say that the Most High is speaking through me.
Mm.
Um, and I feel like it's a feeling, but it's also I've always been like this. I just never
Yeah,
looked at it as a spiritual thing. Like I've
yeah,
been like this my entire life. But now I use it for good. In the
yeah.
past, I talk about like I was super spicy, had like a mouthpiece on me. And yes, I did speak life into people, like my friends, give them advice and all of that. But I also was a hothead growing up. So usually that power in my voice was coming out in a negative way, and now it's coming out differently. Just so it's both. It's like it's things I do know because I don't speak on things unless I've gone through them. But it's also I feel like it's like a I don't, I don't know, it's just like a feeling, just something comes over me.
I had something similar, but for me, it was like first, like a name came, the name of my YouTube channel came to my mind. Then a sentence came, which was like, I don't know, give 10,000 or something. Right. So so it was the name, the sentence. And then I just had this feeling that I should go and like record. It wasn't
Mm.
really logical. It
Oh.
was more like a feeling like I feel like I should be doing this now, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So was it similar for you or you're saying it
Um,
was this see what you're saying actually is yeah, have you heard the term self-realization?
yeah.
So it's as if there's something here before we were born and you realize that.
Right.
So, so would you say yours is, I'm trying to understand like your view.
Yes, but it took a lot of like life, a lot of hard lessons for me to even use my gift. Like I knew it was there, but I didn't, that's not what the idea I had for my life. I didn't think I was going to be on YouTube, doing what I'm doing. I thought I was gonna be doing so many other things like fashion, like clothing line, modeling, acting. I just
Right.
thought I was gonna be doing so many other things, and now I'm doing this. So yes, it was a self-realization, but with force. Like life forced me to no, this is not gonna work out for you. This is what you're supposed to be doing. And when I took the chance to do it, it paid off in a way I didn't think it ever could.
And you said when you had a child, did it change how you would speak, or would did it change like how, because I don't have kids, but I'm looking
Mhm.
to get married.
Okay, good.
So that idea of like of course a new human being entering the world, and it's like very important for you, but I'm trying to get a sense of like, did things spiritually change or your behavior change or something after your child was born?
Yeah, I would say most definitely. Like just in a lot of different ways. Like first of all, emotionally. I've said this on my channel before. Like I used to cry like once a year. I used to be real tough and hard and just like not very emotional. I
Mm.
feel like it made me softer. It made me more like feminine, I guess you could say, just more tapped into that feminine part of me.
Right, right.
Um, and it was definitely a spiritual experience overall. Like it just started with the like make coming to terms with the toxicity from my childhood and realizing that it wasn't normal. That was a spiritual experience for me.
How did that happen? How did you suddenly realize the trauma?
I just started having these, I don't even know what you would call it. Like these memories were just came flooding back that I didn't even know were there. And it just was random. It was sudden. They just started coming back. And I was like, wait, like I went through that. That wasn't okay. And it kind of started like that.
Oh, wow. So it was like
Yeah.
a vision. It was as if you
Yeah.
suddenly, wow, okay.
Definitely crazy. It still
I
happens to
think
this
that counts as
day.
a spiritual experience, you know.
Yeah.
There's been times where I've had, you know, I for me it started when I noticed that I was thinking faster than I usually do.
Mm,
So that means I was like, thoughts were going through my mind, but they were going way faster than I was normal, like I normally think, right? So I knew that that's not me thinking, you know, because
right.
that fast, really, really, this is, and but after, and it was strange because I caught on to it. I pretty much sat down by this fountain. Every time I would inhale, no thoughts. Every time I would exhale, ooh, it was as if like during the exhale, suddenly the thoughts, like this fast-paced thought, and it was as if I felt like I had maybe like an hour worth of thoughts, but it was like 20 minutes based on the speed
Wow.
they were moving, right? But I think yours is very profound because how did that change your identity, those memories or those scenes? Like, did you feel like some different being when those visions came?
Not at first. At first, I just didn't know how to even because I was 19 at the time. So at the time, it
Oh,
was just like,
19. Okay.
yeah. So it was just like it made me sad. Like I just went through a period of like sadness, remembering those memories. And
Right.
then later on, like I guess I would say now I'm more accepting because I mean I can't change it. And I'm kind of like a person who believes everything happens for a reason.
Mhm.
Just more accepting and more at peace. So I would say it made me more peaceful and just like not so anxious and just mad at the world for what happened to me.
That's because sometimes people blame the world
Yeah.
for all their problems, you know. It's like if I wasn't here, I wouldn't have these.
Right. Yeah, for
But
sure.
I would love to ask you, I mean, I mean, of course, as a man, I can't fathom this, but having a child grow within you, do you feel the child's soul? Was there a moment you felt like a being was present in you, or was it just the feeling of your body? This is a
You
bizarre
know what?
question, by the way. I just,
I
yeah.
have a no, it's okay. Like I have a very like specific story about how I even felt like the soul of my child. But before I even say that, prior to her, like when I was early first trimester, I would get signs of her. Like I picked her name, Callie.
Oh,
I would see like the letter C, like going apartment hunting. You know how they have it decorated. They may have
yeah.
like a child's bedroom. There was like a huge C on the wall. And then I would just see her name everywhere. And I felt like I saw her like just
Wow.
what she would look like everywhere. So that was like my first trimester. And then I would say towards like my third trimester, I had moved back in with my mother at the time, and it was a super low point in my life. I was very depressed. And I was like contemplating suicide. And I used to write a lot. I still do, but I did like at the time I didn't know it was shadow work, but I used to write down my thoughts and just whatever, like poems and all types of stuff. And I was laying in my bed, and I just was like thinking of a way I was going to, commit suicide. Sorry, this is a little, but
No, no,
in
no,
that
it's okay. I appreciate the realness.
yeah, and then in that moment was the first time I ever felt my daughter kick. And it like I
Wow.
just started crying, and it was just like a huge wake up call for me. Like this child is meant to be here. It's not just about me. There's a bigger purpose to this. And I feel like that was just like a moment where I was just like, okay, I hear you, God. Like, I'm going to have my baby. I'm going to keep my life. And I mean, I'm glad I did, but just that was just an example of like when I realized, okay, this is having a child is a spiritual experience. And I felt like, that soul connection.
That's so beautiful. My God. So this is incredible. I mean, I'm getting insights from what you're saying, brother. You know, you know, it's so you know, this is the view I got, that so it's as if before the soul of that being comes, the karma of that being is coming. Something
hmm
like that. Like you can notice like your karma change, I guess. Something in those lines. I don't know. I think
I
about.
feel like I know where you're going with it because it was kind of like I was getting wake up calls back to back to back. Like it wasn't just an easy ride, and it made me get myself together. And I did experience some karma on the negative end, if that's what you mean. Yeah, it was kind of like that.
Yeah, okay, I'll tell you something, a hilarious story about my mother and father. Okay, so I'm a twin. Okay, when my mother
Wow.
when my mother was pregnant, the doctor only saw one child and they were scared. They were like, why is the child so big? Why is the stomach so big? And the doctor was like, I only see one kid here. Like, the doctor was like,
Wow.
okay. Then my father, he was a very, in tune type of person, you know.
hmm
He touched my mother's stomach and he said, I feel two souls here. There isn't one. Right.
Whoa.
And then they went to the doctor, and the doctor saw it. I think it was, I came out first. So I think it was my brother. He was behind me
Wow.
during the
That
scan, exactly like right behind. Right. So then something that was causing them so much fear, oh my God, is this bad karma, instantly, through a different view, turned into what a blessing. We have twins and all of this. Do you know what I'm saying? So that was
that's amazing.
yeah, that was made me remember that.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's very
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, my mother told me when that happened, when the doctor said it was one child, she got so scared that she was praying every night, like endlessly
Oh,
praying every night. But yeah, it was a surprise. I
a big surprise.
Yeah, yeah. There's this joke in Iranian culture. They say these twins were born late, and then they do a cesarean, like a C-section, and then it's like two old men. One of them's like, after you, no, after you.
Oh my God.
Sorry,
That's
silly
funny.
joke.
That's funny though. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so that's incredible. So you get a sense of so I have this view that some people say soul. For me, it wasn't like a ghost version of myself. It wasn't like
Mhm.
I was having out of, but I've had moments where I've seen myself outside of myself. Like one day I woke up in the morning and I saw like my mother, doing laundry or something like that. My consciousness was awake before I was awake, something like that. But it eventually came down to presence. So when
Right.
I speak about it, I'm saying, okay, there's my personality, which is from my mind, and then there's my presence, and that's how I'm aware of all my mind and body at the same time. And then I
Mm.
came to this conclusion, the presence is unknown, right? So I would ask you, what is your view on the soul? How do you understand that?
Um, I feel like our soul is, I mean, first it's who we truly are. Um, I say we're living in like a meat suit. And it does affect our reality, our day to day, but I feel like your soul is something that you have to like that's kind of like a purpose in this life to seek that and find that. Like tap into that because I feel like since we are
Right,
having a human experience, we get so caught up in the flesh of everything. We don't understand unless you're like, a spiritual being, um, that the flesh doesn't really matter. So I just feel like the soul is I feel like it's everything. It's kind of even hard for me to explain. Like I feel like it's everything. It's where everything truly lies within you. Like your
yeah.
experiences, like maybe like for people who believe in past lives. Um
Do you believe in
that
past
same
lives?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
And I feel like it's that same soul that goes with you through each past life in a different meat suit. So I just feel like I don't know how to explain it. It's like it's just who you are.
Yeah,
Um, and I feel like your soul holds a lot. So how people are like claircognizant, they just have an inner knowing. And I feel like that inner knowing comes from just that soul part of you who has been here before. Like people who say are old souls. Like
right.
I don't know. It's kind of hard to explain. It's a great question though. That's like the
Yeah,
best
yeah.
way.
It's
I just
one
feel
of
like it's
those
just
one of those questions everybody in history has been trying to answer, you know.
yeah.
But it doesn't have an answer because
No,
the view of it is it's neither an object or a subject. So what could it,
right,
you know? Because that's what reincarnates, right? Our body changes in, let's say, different lifetimes, and then the ideas we have on our body, if we think we're the body changed, right? But then I also had this view where I'm like, what if there's something to us that never dies? Do you know?
right,
Recently I've been thinking about that, and I thought like, okay, if we don't die, then what are we going to do after this life? Do you know what I'm
right.
saying? Like, what is an immortal being, eternal being going to do in like an empty world, So I mean, of
Hmm.
course these are more how I see it, but so spirituality is not you wouldn't say it's something analytical. Do you think about it? What's your relationship with your imagination? Do you see images? Does it happen suddenly? You said you had visions, so that means it was like a film, like you saw films in your mind.
Yeah. I do get the visions now more than I used to. And this is gonna sound so crazy, but sometimes it's like a That's So Raven moment, where she like just stops and she sees something and then just like comes back. It's like that, but less dramatic. And it's like a snap. It just happens. Like I've seen like I don't even know. Like it's just I'll see things, but it's not always that I know what it is or when it's going to happen. Like I don't know if you ever seen That's So Raven, but on the show she would have visions, but the vision was never how it actually played out was never how she assumed in her mind. So it was like she was spending all this time trying to stop this bad thing that she's seen in her head just for it to happen anyway
Mhm.
in a completely different way. So yeah, I get the visions now more than I used to. I get the dreams, or they call like premonitions. Like I'll get dreams about stuff that'll happen before it happens, and all that type of stuff.
Right, right.
Um,
So would it be an experience where things are interconnected now? So is it like a Jungian synchronicity? Like do you think of something and then you suddenly see it? Or do you know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Is your mind showing you what it can do?
yeah, for sure. Yeah, I get the synchronicities a lot. I feel like when I do get the synchronicities, that for me that means I'm in alignment.
Right.
Or like even deja vu, that tells me I'm in alignment. That's just kind of like how I look at it.
Okay. And I'm gonna ask you a very, I think this is gonna be a complicated question, okay? But
Okay.
in the future, let's say you see your daughter grow up and children, so many different children are born in the world in the future. What kind of spirituality do you see them having? Let's give it like, you know, like 50 years from now, or like something like that. I'm asking you, like, where do you feel like all these beings in a world are like heading, or what's your feeling?
Hmm.
Yeah, it's a
Um,
complicated. Yeah, that's just about the
I
future.
love it though. It's a good question. It makes me think, so it's good. If I were to say my own family specifically, um, I don't want them to move into anything that controls them. I want them to understand that they are in control, and
Wow.
kind of just like look within themselves. Like, don't seek answers from the outside world. Yes, we read books, we watch movies, we listen to music, we listen to podcasts, things like that. I feel like these things should spark something in us, but it shouldn't necessarily give us all the answers. So I feel like, or even my page, I don't want people to watch me and be like, oh, she said this is what I should do. No, and I wouldn't want my children to do that either. Let it spark something in you. But look within. I feel like we have all the answers. And I feel like
Right, right,
for my family, like the generations that come after me, that's what I want them to do. I'm going to give them, the game and the guidance and the wisdom, but they're always going to find their own answers because everyone's journey is different. And I feel like the world itself is moving into a time away from materials, or not even moving away from materials, but more so seeing that materials are not that important. They don't make you. Your soul is what's important. We glorify these influencers and celebrities that have all these things, and we feel like they're the chosen ones because of what they have. And I feel like we're moving into a time where we realize, okay, materials don't make you, and half the people who have these things are not who they portray themselves to be. And it's kind of like I don't know the word I want to use, but just like it kind of blows your mind. And I feel like it's just kind of like
yeah,
a stepping out of the matrix. Like they put so many things like in our face that we think are important, and it's not. So I feel like the world itself is moving into like a more spiritual. But we're just tapping in and moving
right.
away from just all this 3D physical stuff, and kind of understanding like our mind is powerful. We create the world that we want, and life is truly what you make it. Things like that.
Right,
That
right.
makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, your view is very similar to mine. I explained in this sense that I think people are getting bored of being like names and stories. That's what I felt.
Mhm.
I felt like people are like, yo, I'm not just this character I've been told. I'm not just this character like people are treating me as. My own will can change me. Something like that, right? But
Facts.
you have a way more brighter view of the future. I see more chaos.
I mean, I feel like it'll be chaos at first, for sure. Like it's like a breakdown to rebuild. So it's gonna be chaos. I mean, it's chaos now. Like the Pluto return and everything. So yeah, it's chaos now, but eventually, especially at least for like our grandkids, I feel like it'll be better for them. Hopefully. At least, that's in
Yeah.
my happy go lucky sense.
One fear I had was that all the natural stuff we're doing as human beings, I thought like maybe technology is going to come and do this. So then we don't know what behaviors make us human. Do you know what
Mm.
I'm saying? And I'm not saying like in 100 years. I'm saying like let's give it a couple 100 years, right? I felt this thing that people are going to get bored of being biological beings. That's what I thought because
Wow.
just look at the information age, right? Like how much everybody goes on YouTube, new content, new content. The new content is a faster change of your inner life. So people are getting used to having their inner lives move really quickly, but their outer lives are not moving as quickly. And then they're like, oh man, I hate this place.
Right.
You know what I'm
Oh my,
saying? Something,
yeah, that's true.
yeah, yeah. So so yeah, that was one of my concerns. But for example, you said you're in Atlanta, right? And then have you so how do you think like dangerous neighborhoods or what type of consciousness change do you see like in those sectors? Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah. I mean, I could be wrong, I could be off, but just like in my opinion, like I truly feel like the earthly realm is like splitting. Like I truly feel like it's
mm,
splitting. And even though we're walking around and we're seeing these people, the your worlds, like your true universe is in your head. So everyone is having a different experience, even if we're in the same vicinity. I feel like in Atlanta, yeah, you may see the crime, you may see these things, but the people who are participating in these very just dark, low vibrational activities and mindsets and the things they're doing on a day to day, I think that's just like it's just their experience. Like that's not my experience. But I feel like this like
right,
Atlanta as a whole, it's not that it's completely bad. It's just I don't know, I just feel like it's kind of giving me like hell on earth, but also like heaven on earth. And I feel like the hell and the heaven is kind of in your mind.
mm,
And it kind of gives me like revelation type of vibes. Like I haven't read it in a long time, but that's what it seems like. But for me, like just on a spiritual level, it's not literally like the you can see the devil walking around, it's fire and bloodshed and all that. Like it is, but it's not happening the way people were thinking, or at least people who are religious were thinking it was going to happen. It is happening, but some people are experiencing heaven on earth, some people are experiencing hell. Atlanta is a great example of that. Like it's in your mind. So if you have healed and you've kind of become more aware and in tune with yourself, and kind of healed from your own personal demons, you're not experiencing that hell. Even if you experience anxiety and doubt sometimes, you're not really experiencing that. So I see it, but I don't feel like I'm experiencing it with them, if that makes sense.
right, right. Um, I'm trying to think like what motivates, sometimes I have this strange view. Sometimes I think like, yeah, people are already souls. Sometimes I feel when they move, the soul comes, or like it's based on their intent, the type of
Mm-hmm.
they are. Like
Wow.
what are they intending? Do you know what I'm saying? Because there was a time I
Mhm.
thought like, yo, that person's freaking bad. He did something bad, or that girl's good. She did something good. But then I was like, no, 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 we're changing all the time. And it's the intent, right?
Right.
Then the problem was I was like, how do I figure out what their intent is though? That's the challenge, right? Like how do you
Mm.
change like an environment where the environment is telling people to behave in one way? How do you yeah, yeah. Do you have any ideas here? Maybe you can help me out.
I mean,
Figure
that's
out this
what you
global
just
problem.
that is so deep though, what you just said. It just really blew my mind. Like I never thought about it like that once. So that was really deep what you said.
Oh, okay. The intention, you
Um
mean?
yeah, because I speak on intentions a lot. But like you said, just because somebody does something, it's not about good or bad, it's about intentions. Um So
Right.
that says a lot because there are good people who have done bad things and maybe they did that because they needed to feed their family, you know? Their intentions weren't to be cruel. They just maybe they had to go steal some food from the grocery store because they need to feed their family. So
Mm,
I feel like
right.
it could be both. Like it could be intentions, and I feel like people can be they can be used by lower level entities, or maybe that's their
Oh yeah.
lower self that's using them. I don't know. But the crime here, just depending on what the crime is pretty bad. But I feel like it's almost like lower energies are running rampant in Atlanta. And
Mhm.
if you're at a low vibrational state already, whether you drink alcohol excessively, maybe you're having a lot of meaningless sex, maybe you're consuming a lot of drugs, and just, if you're doing those things constantly, you're putting yourself at a constant low vibration. So if you are doing that, yeah, these lower level entities and energies will thrive off of you, and you're not going to realize it. So I think, environment plays a play. I think choices and the things that people do play like play a part in it. But I don't know.
Right,
It's like
right.
it's
Yeah,
almost like
yeah,
it could
you're
be
right.
both.
Some of it is not their fault. It's just the way the game is, right?
Right.
And some of it is their fault, how they play the game, right? Something
Right.
like that. But I've always wondered, like, so I was born in Iran, right? And
Mhm.
in Iran is kind of like, I mean, just like every other nation, like it has dark sides. Okay. And then you see, for
Mhm.
example, these children in the streets who are selling gum, and the child is sitting in the corner, and people are walking past, and people say, don't give money. Even if you go there to buy like gum from the kid, there's some guy there who says, don't give money. Right.
Mm.
Then you ask why, and the kid's like starving, like this poor kid. And the guy said, all the money you give to this kid, this orphan kid, he will go give it to someone else, the guy who's controlling him.
Oh wow.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. To a point where you don't know even if you can help, if you're helping them or you're helping the entity that's controlling them. Do you know,
Wow.
like that intensity, right? But I think, one of the, I remember seeing this video, and this guy was this guy in the video went into all the conspiracies, right? All the conspiracies, all like messed up stuff happening. And then at the end he was like, but there's God up there.
Yeah.
That was the,
Yeah.
it's managed chaos, divinely
Yeah.
managed chaos, even if
I
maybe.
feel like, yeah, but I also feel like people don't understand, because I do believe in a higher power. And I'm not saying that on my spiritual awakenings that I never question it, because I have. But I do believe in a higher power. I don't I don't disagree with people who don't, because again, everybody's experience is different. And I don't really feel like if they're um I don't feel like God cares. Like I don't feel like he cares if you believe in him or not, or he or she believes in them or not. I feel like it's more so about, like we talked about, intentions and who you are in the spirit.
Right.
Um Maybe your role here on the earthly realm this time, maybe you weren't meant to believe in God this time. Like maybe you were meant to be a different person. And I feel like everybody plays their part. And I feel like a lot of people, especially religious people, they don't understand that we really do have free will. Like, I believe in the Most High, but that does not mean that every action I'm taking is constructed by the Most High. Like, I believe we have free will,
Right.
but just like everyone in the world does, I believe in balance. So I believe there has to be some bad and it has to be good. But I believe that sometimes, like, I feel like God kind of controls the outcome of things, um,
Hmm.
and steps in when necessary. Like, I feel like there's a plan, God has a plan, and things go according to his will. But I also feel like we still have free will. Like, there's a God in us.
Right.
Like, I just believe in there's one main God, but we are also gods. Like, that's how I kind of see it, which means that we have power. And I have experience. If you pay attention and you're aware of your life, um, you will experience that power that you have, but you will also experience the hand of God. So I'm kind of like both with that. Like, yeah, we have chaos and people are like, oh my, if God is so great, why is this happening? Why is that happening? Until you like really just tap in and become aware and
Right.
see things from a higher perspective, you'll drive yourself crazy trying to answer that question. Like,
The sentence you said, like, by the way, I understood how you meant it. You said like, God doesn't care for all of that. I
yeah.
I see that same sentence, but the way I see it, as if God, like the idea of destiny is in religion, and they have this view that everything started from God and everything goes back to God. So I had this impression God created something so great, he's sure. God is sure of
Mhm.
the destiny of his creation, right? It's
Mhm.
just the creation isn't sure. Do you know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's like imagine an inventor builds an android, like a robot that looks like a human, and then
Right.
the inventor is confident. I made the most next level thing. The android is doubting itself. Do you know what I
Right.
like?
Right.
But yeah, yeah, I'm agreeing with you in the sense that God is so certain that he doesn't need to even care because he knows.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Right. Yeah. And it's I just feel like not everybody is meant to be godly, like, or even tap into that. Like, we have to have people in the world who are not that. Like, we have to. So I
right.
just feel like everything is kind of, and some people it takes them a long time. Like maybe they're not this person now, but maybe they won't even become that person until they're 80. That was divinely guided for that person to be who they were their entire life, not even have a relationship with God. And God knew, well, when you turn 80, you're gonna meet me or you're gonna know me. Not
Yeah.
necessarily you're gonna transition over, but something is gonna happen. So some people meet God early, some people meet God late, but it's just like I feel like
But you
the
meet God at
journey.
some point.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Nice, nice. That's really profound. I had never thought about like, you know, death being a meeting, do you know? I always
Mhm.
thought like it's like, like a doorway, or it's like somewhere you're exiting, or like those people who reincarnate, death is like a revolving door. They just don't know when to get out. Do you know?
Yeah.
They just keep coming back, Just
Yeah, for sure.
okay, that's wow. So this means in some sense that if you see someone who you would consider evil, would you still see divinity in them? Do you see like
Um,
the balance, like they have to, like it's necessary for that being to be that?
I do. Like I do. I just because why would they be that? Like I just feel like everything like
Right.
for example, like I can give you a great
Right.
example.
Wow, right. Why would they be there?
Yeah. Like I talk about my traumatic experience as a child. Evil was done to me for a long time. But it's like if that evil was not done to me, I wouldn't even be able to I wouldn't be the person that I am. Like I would be a completely different person. I would have I would not be on YouTube talking about this. I wouldn't feel the need to like help people like heal from mental health issues and trauma and inner child healing, all this stuff that I teach and I talk about on my channel. And I see how I was able to help people. If I did not go through what I went through, I wouldn't have been in a position to do that. So I just kind of feel like as terrible as the things that I have gone through, I've learned to accept it because it literally made me who I am. And I love who I am at the end of the day. So if order for me to and this was kind of like my self-love journey thing, in order for me to love who I am, I have to love my experiences. I have to love all the parts of myself, even the dark parts. And there are
Right,
people who could have perceived me in the past to be a bad person. Um, and that was just their perspective of me. And maybe I was being a bad person at that time. Just like there's people who perceive me to be a good person. Like I've gotten called demon, all types of stuff since I've started my channel. But that just shows people's perception. And I think Neville Goddard said this. He said that when you see things, it's not so much as what is there, it's the perception of what you see when you look. So I feel like
right, right,
good and evil is kind of like that as well. Um, we can say certain things that is evil, that's so wrong, but somewhere in the world, somebody's like, I don't see anything wrong with that. But we call them a psychopath. So I feel like good and evil is completely necessary. Everything can't be all good and everything can't be all bad, and every event leads to a different event, a different outcome, a different situation.
right,
The
right.
greatest of all time. have been through some of the worst things, and we love their music, we love them on TV, but we wouldn't have even watched them or enjoyed their music if they didn't go through all the darkness they went through in their life. But I kind of see that as energy. So it's like transmutation. They took that negative energy that they experienced and they transmuted it and put it into their gifts, which we all get to love and enjoy. So
Right,
do
right.
you you love their music and you may have hate what happened to them, but you can't have one without the other.
Yeah, I have something in my view differs from you in this, in that this thing of I had an experience, okay? So, and it was like
Mhm.
such a huge wake up for me, right? You know how you were saying some people are like they're not experiencing the real life, they're experiencing like their mind, their
Mhm.
perception, right? So I had this view where I realized like when I was a young kid, I don't know, like my grandmother or somebody came up to me and said, "You're a good boy," you know?
Mhm.
Okay. And my subconscious mind hadn't done anything then. Okay. And I was like, oh, I'm good. I'm just good. My subconscious mind took the language literal. And then
Yeah.
through so many moments when I would do things that were not good, I was still telling myself, I'm a good person. I'm a good person, and ignoring my own dark side. Okay.
Mm.
And then there came this moment where I was like, am I loving the real me? Do I even have the courage and honesty to see the real me, to love that? Or am I seeing the me I want to be all the time?
Mm.
Do
Okay.
you see what I'm saying? So then
Yeah.
because I noticed something in me that why am I being nice to everybody? That doesn't make sense. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, it does, of course, like in regards to cultural, all of this, it makes sense. But I thought like I'm lying to myself. I'm not that much of a good person. I'm not that much of a loving person. I have flaws. And the moment I accepted that, I was free from this constant
Mm.
trying to be good all the time, you know?
I love that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's why I'm saying this thing. I hear it a lot, and we have Discord events, and people come and say, love everything and love everything. But what are they loving? Are they loving what
Yeah.
they want to see there? It's like when you're in a relationship, do you want to love the person that person can be, or are you able to love whatever they are? Like
Mm.
it's the
Right.
that means some people think I'm not evil. I do good things. And I'm gonna love my good self. But can you love your bad self? Can you
Right.
love the parts where you're not a nice person? Do you know?
Right. I love
And
that.
that was like a huge
Yeah.
wake up. I'm like, yo, why? And you know why I'm glad I realized it? Because everybody was thinking I'm that nice person all the time. Do you know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? They all thought that I'm just this nice person all the time. And then when there would be interactions where I would get angry or something, do you know? And
Right.
see what I'm saying? I wasn't a nice person. I wasn't that good boy. Do you know what I'm saying? So that's
Mhm.
honesty became more important than being good all the time. That's what I'm trying to
Right.
say, right?
Yeah. I agree. I agree 100% with what you said. I feel like I can relate to that a little bit. How you said that people they when they saw that other side of you, it's like, oh my God, like you're supposed to be nice, you're supposed to be this.
Yeah, yeah.
And it makes you not want to. I kind of had experience like that. Like,
Can I
I
just say
grew up,
really quick? Sorry, Sydney. One
yeah.
one thing that this allowed me was before I wouldn't talk about my dislikes. If I
Mhm.
disliked someone, because I was trying to be good all the time in my mind, I wouldn't tell them. Like I dislike.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Anyway, sorry. That I just thought I add that.
No, that was good. That's good. Somebody will need to hear that for sure. Like, don't, that's like people pleasing. I had to like cut that out a long time ago, like the people pleasing stuff, because it was only doing a disservice to me. Like, I wasn't being authentically me if I just pleased everyone around me. So I definitely get that.
Yeah,
And I,
there is this sense that we don't know each other's inner lives, right? And then we're all trying
right.
to like walk safely. Do you know what I'm saying? Trying to like two different minds are trying to be in the same moment, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But, Yeah.
I feel like also, like, accepting that part of yourself, like, your good and your bad side will also kinda help you accept that in other people. Like, give people kinda grace to just I mean, there's do you have to have duality, like, you have to, and maybe what they're doing is not so bad, maybe it's just your perception. Maybe they're just having a day, they're just having a moment. Can you look at them and say, "You know, they're just having a moment, I'm not gonna just give them the title of the bad guy or the evil woman. Maybe they're just having a moment. I have moments too. I'm not perfect either. So it's like you see it in yourself and you can see it in other people.
Well said. So I'll get to the final question. I feel like I've taken so much of your time.
No, it's okay. I enjoy this.
This question I ask different people, right? Different. I'm trying to ask everybody, and the question is, what message would you give the future generations if you were, let's say you're like someone with a very deep insight? What message
Mhm.
in a bottle would you give the future generations?
Future generation,
Yeah, all those
it
people
kind of
haven't
be
been born yet.
yeah. I would just say, truly get in touch with your soul. Um, don't let the outside world define who you are. Decide for yourself who you are. If you want to change who you are, do it 1,000 times if you want to. Um, I think it's more so about the journey and not just like reaching a final destination and having a title and a label to who you are. You're just on a journey. So enjoy the journey. Um, don't let the outside world just tell you who you need to be and truly know what it means to love yourself and know thyself. That's what I would teach the future generation.
It's like I gotta shout. It's like, hey, unborn subscribers, take notes.
Yeah. For sure.